5-star trail FKT. I did this on 2/7/24, so February 7th of 24. Um, Finished in 2 hours, 12 minutes, and 56 seconds, which is roughly a 8:05 pace. I got 477 feet of gain, um, and 16.45 miles, give or take. Um, Could get a little bit more, could get a little bit less, depending on your watch on this loop. Um, but you should get about 16 and a half. I'm just going to go into the write-up, and then I'll talk about it a little bit more. Um, I've been on the trail before, just a couple times. Did a race on it once and videoed it in its entirety from my YouTube channel once on my bike. So I had a good idea what to expect. I also played softball at Lynchfield, so I knew what the track um, was around the field like. Well, even with knowing what to expect, I was tossed some curveballs during the FKT completion. Mainly, it was the softness of the trail, the first half of it. Um, Basically, any crushed limestone part was mostly soft. Some spots were worse than others. Still runnable, but not as fast as a dry, solid route would be. Um, it did make my legs a little bit tired more, also made me work harder. I started at the corner of the aerobic center at Lynchfield. There isn't a marker to the official start spot by that parking lot, so I found a yellow traction plate on the cement on the sidewalk that I used to start and stop the FKT, which I think is a really good spot. Um, it's actually a little bit back from the corner of the parking lot. I think that's a better official starting point either way. Um, I was just behind the corner of the parking lot from the vague suggested start, so that way there's no question I did the whole thing, since the yellow traction plate is a good reference of me being there and anybody could see it. Um, I did the outer loop of Lynchfield. There was people there even midday. Most people were on their phones, and were on the right-hand side of the trail coming towards me, not on the left-hand side as they should have been. So I was a little annoyed with people who didn't know trail etiquette. It's about 3/4 of a mile around the outer loop till you hit the beginning of the trail. Um, I did not know this, but they do close the outer loop if there's snow and ice on the loop. There was two barriers, one at each end of the far end of the loop, stating it. Um, so if somebody decides to run this loop, use caution in bad weather because you won't be allowed to do so unless you disobey the barriers they will have up. Today I had them off to the side, so I didn't have to worry about it. But they are there, and this was February when I did this, so um, obviously they do close it for bad conditions. I hit the trail and did the steepest part of where I think most of the elevation comes from in that first 2-ish tenths of a mile up through the underpass, um, which has been nicely repainted with great depictions. Then it hit the soft rail trail for the next 4 or so miles. Some spots were asphalty, but not much like the first half. Um, it doesn't seem to get a lot of sun, at least that time of year. It felt colder as well. Um, I felt good early on, but I had to pee about 3-ish miles in, and I had to stop at a porta john to pee at that first trailhead who had one, because there is a bunch of different trailheads along this route. Felt better after that. Not much happened on the way out until Youngwood. I forgot how close you were to the train tracks. They literally are right beside you with no guardrail separating. So you do have to use caution. And if you ever do bike this trail, just be very careful when the trains are close to you, because like they're literally um, like a foot off the trail. So if you fall off your bike, you could fall into a train. Um, you can actually reach over and touch some that are in use. What slowed me down on the way out was traffic. The couple intersections you cross had cars coming, so I actually had to stop and cross, which is annoying. Same thing happened on the way back. Um, on the one on the one way back, some dude literally just casually walked across in front of two cars and took his time doing so. Um, so people can be rude on the trail. On the way out, um, I like the first industrial side you run on as you get off the five-star trail in Youngwood, and then you run along the industrial complexes that connect you back to the trail. It's still part of the trail, but it's not as marked as such. It's just assumed it is because there's an actual side of the road to run on. Well, a bike lane, I guess is the correct term, on either side of the road. It's just a lane on each side of the road, not a full two-person trail. On the way back, when you run on the other road, on the opposite side of the industrial complexes, there is no bike lane as you're running, so you have to watch traffic as it comes towards you since there's no place to step off. Um, as you take the shorter five trail extension to Pavilion Lane, you do the same thing. On Pavilion Lane, and you run up towards Westmoreland County Community College to connect back to the trail. There's absolutely no place to run safely. Um, you're running on a two-lane road with no place to actually run on it. I had to run in ditches at times and in people's yards to avoid cars um, that were coming both ways, and cars were not slowing down to the other lane past and then go around. Um, so maybe get off the road and tries to squeeze in to the little space there was. Some spots there was none, so I had to watch keep if I was going to keep going. So I had to think about this section. It's really a bad section to begin with. I don't know why it's in part of the FKT. It's unsafe with the traffic since there's no place to actually run on, and going into people's yards, ditches, and around telephone poles to avoid being hit by a car isn't wise. Was so happy when roughly that mile was done. Once getting back on the trail and finishing out the out part, I took a picture of the mile 7 marker at the end and touched the benches at the end. In fairness, to signify I made it the whole way to the very end. Um, your watch will say more than 7 miles, so it would be over 8 miles because it does not count the loop around the park and going onto the road. Um, the way back is shorter since you're taking an inside loop on the actual trail and not farther up the road. Um, did pee again at the end of the trail since it could be concealed there. Legs did get a little stiff as I stopped to pee and take pictures. I really didn't want to continue, but had to get back to my car. Um, I just knew it was going to suck going back, and my times would slip, making me slower. Um, the way back on the newer loop section at the end around Westmoreland County Community College is so much nicer than the rest of the trail. Um, as I said already about the industrial road on the way back, just sucked. A couple big tractor trailers were there. Um, I thought they were kind of close to hitting me, but nowhere to go. Since there is no bike lane over there, uh, maybe I just hit that part of the trail at a bad time. In the Pavilion Lane where there was heavy traffic, who knows? I'm not on the trail enough to know for sure. I just plugged along on the way back instead of looking at my watch with mileage going up. Um, I used the mileage going down screen on the way back. It's a nice way to mix it up for me mentally, to see it going down and not going up. So basically, I was just seeing how much is left and not how much I surpassed in mileage. Um, as I cautioned, there were some people smoking weed along the trail on benches, having a blow on the trail. So if you run the trail, be prepared to possibly counter it. Um, left a nasty taste in my mouth as I ran by. Um, Miles counted down with each step. I was so thankful to be getting closer to being done. On the way back, I forgot that the mile marker somehow aligned with my watch, um, plus the final .75 around Lynchfield. Um, so let's say the so to say at the 4 mile marker, I knew I had 4.75 left. They have markers every quarter of a mile, which is nice. You don't see that too often. Um, guess that's about it story-wise. I just know my legs were beat. Rail trails beat me up more than technical terrain because I've had to use the same muscles the whole time. Plus, I never found a rhythm today, which may be running harder as well. I'd say I left a good 30 minutes of time out there today. I was 23 minutes off my half marathon time mark when I hit the 13.1 time. And I know Added to that the last 3+ miles. So there's a lot of time someone can knock uh, off and lower it a lot more so in the drier conditions. Also, my hydration pack was a pain in my butt today. Um, my flask kept popping out of the loops that hold them in place. And I packed too much extra stuff because I didn't know if I was going to get cold in the trail since it was still only near 50 degrees, not hot, but not freezing. So I thought maybe once I started sweating, I get chilled. So I took gloves, gaiter, windbreaker, just in case. But that added more weight than I would really wanted to have. Um, anyway, I got it done. I'm happy. I finished it and took the FKT. Um, I'm honest in my storytelling, and overall, I thought I did horrible. But I also thought maybe I'd go back in a few months and lower it. I haven't been back since. It's been over a year now. The trail itself is nice. It goes from like Greensburg to Youngwood. Again, it's like I guess you want to call it a 7 mile rail trail. But if you take that outer loop of Lynchfield, where I guess it technically starts, um, you add that extra 0.75 miles into it. You do have a few road crossings, and depending on the traffic, gonna have to stop. Um, so I don't know how the traffic is down there because it's Greensburg, so uh, it's pretty much gonna be steady all day long, just hit or miss when you're crossing. So just be careful. And again, there's trains are right along the rail trail, and I'm literally telling you, as I said it already, you can literally touch some of them, and there's some that are actually like stopped on the rail trail, like right beside it. And if you wanted to reach out and touch, not even just when they're moving, but just sitting there, you can. So it's kind of a weird scenario why they don't have any railing out, but who knows? And again, you're running along some businesses. There is a little bit at the sea at the Youngwood side. There's some like murals and stuff like that. Um, but it is kind of like a drabby city type rail trail. A lot of people in Greensburg use it, obviously, because it's, downtown Greensburg and it's a safer place for them to run. And, a lot of people use it, so it's safer because something happens. There's usually going to be somebody coming by within minutes, if not seconds. Um, but Lynchfield would be the good starting point because at the far end at mile 7, it's really just a dead end, wooded area. So you would have to probably go probably about a half mile to get a trailhead if you wanted to start at that far mile 7 area, like start around Westmoreland County Community College and just park there and head out or head to Lynchfield. Um, so Lynchfield is a good starting point. Um, the only thing about this FKT, again, it's weird. Another weird thing is you're doing that outer loop um, by the industrial complexes. Um, I think if I were to do this, or I might redo it, I might make it a straight out and back and not add that little loop. But I guess when he wanted to make this FKT up, he wanted to actually hit the whole trail, and that little bit of an outer loop does get you to run on like th 3/4 um, of an extension. But realistically, um, it should be a straight out and back and not running that outer loop because it is unsafe. Again, as you heard me say it, you're running in people's yards, around telephone poles, and in ditches. If there's any kind of traffic, because they're not paying attention, um, they're just not used to people running there because you really shouldn't be. And then even around the industrial complexes in Youngwood, like the business area, the FKT should just run on the one uh, side of the industrial complexes where there's actual bike lanes or running lanes. Because when you get to the other side, there is no actual bike lane designation. So that's what I said. You had tractor trailers and stuff coming towards you um, if you're running towards traffic, and it's just unsafe. So I think eventually I'm going to redo this FKT and take out that. Um, loop and make it a straight out and back, and then stay on the one side of the industrial complexes and get a true reading on that, just so it's safer for everybody who wants to attempt this. And it would just make more sense down the road to do so instead of doing that like 3-4 tenths. It's really unnecessary and safe. Um, so we'll see. Either way, I got it done. Um, I guess, let me see. Yeah, 212 with that 806 pace. Definitely could knock some time off, but with better conditions, I would have got it done. Or maybe in shape because it was February, a little bit more in shape. I could have did a little bit better as well, but fun time. Other than that, it's a nice trail to visit, but it's also nothing to write home about per se. All right, I'm down here in Lynchfield. I'm gonna do the 5-star loop today. I'm gonna use that yellow board as a starting point for the loop. It's, I don't even know what time it is. (2:03). So I'm gonna put my phone away, start. At least it's proof I'm here. All right, I'm out here at Arm Burst, whatever it's called. 5-star trail. Mile marker 7. Getting my ass kicked today because of the rail trail. You know I hate rail trail. Or whatever. I took one piss break already. I'm gonna take another one in the woods real quick before I hit 3 C's. So made it. So I'll get a picture with mile marker. I'll go back and get mile marker 7 so people have evidence. But yeah. All right, I got 2 tenths left. Well, give or take. To finish the 5-star loop down to Youngwood in Greensburg, PA for the FKT. Whew. Now about 0.15 left. It was rough. Too much road trail. Killing me. It took way longer than it should have. Left about a half an hour out. Almost there. Whew. As you see, it's a nice day. Whew. I'm gonna end on that yellow grate thing, traction thing that I started on. Make it official. Whew. Whew. All right, walk it out. And I'm calling it. There's that yellow grate. 16.45 miles. Ooh, stop. 2 hours, 12 minutes, 55 seconds. Whew. Your new 5-star FKT.